I serve a far nobler cause than mere profit. Just like my brothers.
But there are herbs, mixtures, and extracts. My guards are proof of this. They were madmen before I found and freed them from the prisons of their own minds.
Do they strike you as proper slaves? Unfit for even the most menial tasks? No. I took them not to sell, but to save. And yet you'd kill us all. For no other reason than it was asked of you.
Everything I did to prepare them for the new world. Stole their food? No. I took possession so that when the lean times came, it might be rationed properly.
How could I finance a war in service to the same god that calls me an abomination?
Not so innocent. Dissident voices cut deep as steel. They disrupt order. In this, I do agree with the Brotherhood.
Freed it, you fool, from the tyranny of faith.
Is it not ancient scrolls that inspire the Crusaders? That fill Salah ad-Din and his men with a sense of righteous fury? Their texts endanger others.
The only difference between your master and I is that he did not want to share.
Destroy the only thing capable of ending the Crusades and creating true peace? Never.
Hello and welcome back to the Templar Cause. Next up on the list is William of Montferrat. By far the oddest hairstyle in all of Assassin's Creed. William of Montferrat is quite the interesting man. He makes one of the more compelling arguments for his actions in Assassin's Creed and should be worthy of this examination. Today we'll explore his background, touch on his actions in the game, his justifications, and make a judgment on him. Here we go. Born in 1136, William of Montferrat was the 7th Marquess of Montferrat, meaning that he was born into a noble family in northern Italy. Because of this, William found himself cast into the Third Crusade, alongside Richard III. After the fall of Acre, William was made regent of the city by Richard III. This was likely more of a political move rather than a show of faith, as William's son was a major rival for the kingship of Jerusalem against a vassal of Richard. Placing William in charge of Acre basically made him a hostage for King Richard to guard against any moves that William's son might make. In this position, William enacted a level of extreme discipline and control over his men and the people of the city. Allegedly, he withheld food and money from his own citizens and punished them cruelly as well. He was later responsible for the execution of 3,000 Saracen prisoners that King Richard had intended to trade with for his own soldiers. For this, he was denounced by his king, even though historically it was in fact King Richard III who did the act. At some point during his tenure with the Crusaders, William aligned himself with the Levantine Templars. Being disliked by Richard, and in the same army as Templar leader Robert, made his candidacy seem almost natural. Thus far, we have had Tamir supply the cause with weapons, Talal and Garnier supply the brainwashed bodies, and now William, and his obsession with obedience and order, was likely brought in to train those recruits to fight properly. William wasn't going to go far with the Crusaders because of his strained relationship with the king and his own son, so the Templars found a mutual need. That brings us to where we find William of Montferrat in Assassin's Creed. Now that we have touched on his background and his actions, let's dive into his defense.
Rest now. Your schemes are at an end.
What do you know of my work?
I know that you are going to murder Richard and claim Acre for your son Conrad.
For Conrad, my son is an arse, unfit to lead his host, let alone a kingdom. And Richard, the Ancien is no better. Blinded as he is by faith in the insubstantial, Acre does not belong to either of them.
Then who?
The city belongs to its people.
How can you claim to speak for the citizens? You stole their food, disciplined them without mercy, forced them into service under you.
Everything I did to prepare them for the new world. Stole their food? No. I took possession so that when the lean times came, it might be rationed properly. Look around. My district is without crime, save those committed by you and your ilk. And as for the conscription, they were not being trained to fight. They were being taught the merits of order and discipline. These things are hardly evil.
No matter how noble you believe your intentions, these acts are cruel and cannot continue.
We'll see how sweet they are, the fruits of your labors. You do not free the cities as you believe, but rather damn them. And in the end, you'll have only yourself to blame. You who speak of good intentions.
The opening remarks of William are quite telling here. What do you know of my work? Is a question that he is certain Altair won't answer well. As with our other Templars, William believes he is misunderstood in his time. Moving on from there, William quickly points out that the city of Acre doesn't, in fact, belong to either Richard or his own son. It actually rests in the hands of its own people. That his actions that some have seen as harsh are actually preparations for the new world. He claims that he has actually been instituting rationing of food in case there are lean times coming, and that his district is without crime, and his enactment of conscription was only to instill how important order and discipline are in life. William of Montferrat cannot see evil in any of those decisions. Now, as to why this defense is worthy of note, it's because some of William's ideas here can be quite important. Food rationing at this time can make or break a city's survival. Without some semblance of a reserve, an entire population can be wiped out with a series of bad harvests. Obviously, the elimination of crime will be quite helpful in stabilizing a city, especially during hard times. And order and discipline for some people can help them structure their life and attain their goals. Those acts can all be seen as positive when seen in a vacuum. William even goes on to say that the work of Altair does the opposite of its goal. Rather than freeing cities, he's removing the order the Templars have put in place, thus damning them to disaster. With his defense laid out, let's make a judgment. William of Montferrat has likely helped the city of Acre since its transition from Saracen control to Crusader outpost. Though Richard III has little love for this character, he put an efficient individual in charge, though probably accidentally. Once again, however, the methods that William uses in order to establish this new governance are quite harsh. While it may be true that his rationing is in the best interest of the people, we are never told how severe his restrictions are, so at the very least, this can only be seen neutrally. Aside from this, players can see his attempts to enforce discipline, including murdering 2 soldiers for minor transgressions. Combining this event with that horrifying mass killing of Saracen prisoners points towards a very cruel man. Though he is likely doing all of this to enforce a change he thinks the region needs, he is guilty of working within that old system and being one of its cruelest members. And so, William of Montferrat may have helped Acre. He is also likely guilty of being its most brutal ruler. Though he believes to be a force for good, his vision is one that requires subjugation and brutality.
Answered when you no longer need to ask it.
I assume you called me here for more than just a lecture.
Very well. A rank and weapon are again restored to you. 2 more leaders remain. Go and see to it that their rule is ended.